Lakers, what they're doing right now in their style, which is you don't sign these guys for the future. You sign them to trade them for assets.
I'll give you another interesting player I think would be fun to give like a 4-year kind of deal to, but I think he might be too much money. Fred VanVleet, if it's Dwayne Casey.
I think it'd be too much money. I love him, but I think he's going to get like $18 million a year for 3 or 4 years, and I'm really not in the business of paying him that money.
If you want to flip Luke Kennard into a first-round pick, which I think is what they're planning to do. No offense to Luke Kennard.
Do too.
Seems like that's what they want to do. How about signing Bryn Forbes on a budget to replace him?
Woo! Shooter. Hey, man, you got some Bryn Forbes. I dig it. Especially if you're getting a first-round pick, even if it's like the 16th pick. And I know Pistons fans will freak out if they hear me say that. Like, you're not allowed to talk about trading Luke. But guess what, guys? Luke's 24. He's oft injured, and he's pretty much at his ceiling, I would assume. He's unathletic. He's a really good NBA player who I like a lot, but he's not the type of guy you hold through a 4 or 5 year rebuild to hope he's there on the other end and help you win, because he probably won't be. And by the way, at the end of a 4 to 5 year rebuild, Luke Kennard is almost 30 years old, probably getting paid almost $20 million a year.
Yeah, I think that's the big point on Luke Kennard, is that he's kind of one of those guys that NBA teams want right now, you know? He's what you're looking for, and I think that somebody's going to open a checkbook for him.
I have a big, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but something that the hill I will die on is that you don't sign guys in the NBA to contracts between $16 and $24 million. They will ruin your ability to win a title. You win a title, as we were kind of just talking about, with the top end guys and then the best low end guys you can find. Those $16 to $24 million players, all they do is take away your ability to get those top end players. That's it.
You have one of those guys, maximum. 2, maybe.
Maybe. And if you have one of those guys, you have to have LeBron and Anthony Davis or Kawhi and Paul George. You can't have even like Clay and Steph. I don't think you can have. I think it's got to be one of those 2 sets of players. Who's here in 4 years on the roster right now? Who's here in 4 years?
Back out. So not a lot. I mean, Sekou for sure, I think is for sure going to be here. I would really like Christian Wood to still be there. I think that guy is really good. I think he's exactly what you want out of your center, both in style and in an inevitable price. I'd open the checkbook for Christian Wood and pay him $14 million or whatever.
I also would.
He's great. I love him.
Yep.
Other than that, I mean, I don't see anything that I'm particularly attached to here, really at all.
I think it's Bruce, it's Sekou, like you said, it's hopefully Wood, and the only other guy on this roster I think even has a chance to be here in 4 years is Svi. And the only reason I think that is because I think after next year, you're going to have the opportunity to sign him for something like 4 years, $20 million, which I think will be a really good signing, $5 million a year. By year 2 or 3 of that, I think he's going to be like a stud Joe Harris type shooter who really – and we saw the growth this year. He had the ability to put the ball on the floor. He could get to the rim a little bit. He could pass a little bit. He's not the guy he once was where all he can do was stand still and shoot. So if I get the opportunity to sign that guy to like a 4-year, $20 million contract, I'm doing it. But that's the end of the list. And then whoever we take with our draft pick this year, that's the end of the list.
You and I are big Bruce Brown believers, right? Yes. We've been there for a long time. And I'd pay Bruce Brown too. I think he's really good. He's your perfect backup guard.
What do you think about this for this summer? If you wanted to go sign somebody young who's not super, super expensive, but it's going to cost a little bit of money for an unproven commodity, you go sign Harry Giles.
I love Harry Giles. I love it so much.
Harry Giles, Christian Wood is your Twin Towers.
That I do that. What do I have to do to make that happen? How do I make that happen in my life?
I mean, I guess the question is, how much would you pay him? So last year he was putting up, or this year, 7 points, 4 rebounds in 15 minutes a game, right? I think this is a guy who's going to cost $9 to $11 million because of the potential. But I pay him $9 to $11 million, no problem.
Sure.
Like, why not? A team in this situation, as long as you still have the cap space go and get a first-round pick attached to an expiring contract. That seems like the perfect player to me for this team.
9 to 11, that's an unforgettable number.
That's okay. What else? Here's what I was thinking about. If Derrick Rose, shout out Walter for this one. Okay, if you're listening at home, shout out Walter. If Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin come out just balling next year, and the trade deadline comes and we're 3 games out of the 8 seed, what would you do? What do you think Tom Gores and Stefanski and Casey do?
Will you say that again? I just got a real quick thank you to Darren Shelton, who apparently fixed our stream. I don't know what was wrong with it, but he messaged me saying he fixed it, and I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you, Darren. So if next year Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose come out and they're just balling, they're healthy, they're balling, and the trade deadline comes and we're 3 games out of the 8 seed, not what would you do, but what do you think Stefanski, Gores, and Casey would do?
I think they'll get rid of D-Rose for sure. I mean, they were talking about it this year, right? We know the Lakers made an offer. Not an awesome offer, but they made an offer. And I think that D-Rose is the perfect kind of guy for any title contender who's like a piece away who needs another guard. I think that he's the guy who ends up – he's only got 1 year left too. You know, you got to trade him while he still has value to you. You know, I know that sounds heartless, but I mean –
I think you missed the ceiling of his value, which stinks. I do think that this year was the ceiling of his value. But I don't think anybody really had much to give up. The team that really was in contention for him was the Lakers. And what are you going to get from the Lakers for Derrick Rose? There's no draft picks to be had. There's not really any young players. They're not going to give you Kuzma. So I'm hoping next year that it can kind of flip. Maybe his value won't be as high, but the team needs will be higher, which will make up for that discrepancy in value.
Cool. Yeah, I agree.
Ed Stefanski said today or yesterday that he's taken the best player in the draft, doesn't matter position, best player available. Right call, wrong call?
Right call. In basketball, I mean, it's a freaking dice roll. This draft's even more dicier dice roll than other dice rolls.
Yeah, and that makes me excited. I'm all on board with that unless James Wiseman's the best player available, but it sounds like the Warriors are locked in on James Wiseman from what I was reading today. So it sounds like James Wiseman.
He's going to be kind of it's going to be like a Darko pick. And what I mean by that is a pick where not a lot of people have seen him really play. We don't totally know what we're getting the way we did because Darko came over from Serbia a month before the draft. And that was the first time a lot of NBA teams really saw him sit down and play. And Wiseman's going to be the same way because he got suspended so early in the NCAA season and kind of gave him the finger and walked away. And I mean, I respect that, but I'm surprised it's not going to tank his draft stock. And I bet the Warriors are right. Yeah,
I'm surprised it's not going to hurt his draft stock, especially because there's no combine and there's no team meeting with these guys and there's no workouts that are going to be had. I'm assuming that's something that's going to come down is the teams don't have the ability to do that unless it's remote. But I'm always on the best player available bandwagon, and it's going to be Killian Hayes market right now. Killian Hayes, the all France team, the all mother in France team. Okay. Are you ready to do this, Parker?
Am I ready to do what I've been waiting to do basically since the moment I was born?
I mean,
is that what you're
up to you? I think that's what I'm asking you, but I guess really it's up to you.
I'm fucking so excited for what we're about to do. There's not a lot of sports content out there right now. So what we're going to do is talk about soccer, specifically soccer, the United States men's national team, which is one of my 5 greatest passions behind cooking and sketch comedy or whatever. So we've got a bunch. I don't even know how to broach this. The thing about soccer is that there's a lot of stuff to know up front. There's a lot of players, more than basketball, but less than football. And a lot of them, you can have playmakers in any position. So there's kind of random stars everywhere. So what I want to start with is the World Cup. There's a World Cup coming in 2 years, potentially 3 years.
Depending on the corona. I would assume, right?
It more depends on what FIFA decides they want to do. And the thing about FIFA is that there's no deciphering what they're going to do beforehand unless you're one of the people with a big cash briefcase. So We don't really know what's going to happen with the World Cup, if they push it a year, if they don't push it a year, but it's going to be in 2 years, give or take 9 months probably. Okay. So what we've done is I've put together a couple of lineups to kind of talk about soccer players that will be up on your radar if you're a soccer fan, or if you'd like to become a soccer fan, because I know sometimes with sports, bridging that gap can be difficult.
Well, and something I want to say for people who are trying to get into soccer, there's 2 things you need to do. One is listen to Parker for the next 45 minutes because he can actually make it sound exciting. And 2, go buy FIFA and just do a career mode and start buying and selling players on the transfer market. Every single sport should have a transfer market. It's the best way to get business done. It's best for the players. I don't give a damn about the owners, but go buy FIFA and you will love soccer. I promise. I hated it.
I genuinely think that the NFL and the NBA should adopt soccer's loan system. And for those of you who don't know what that is, in soccer, teams can loan, literally that's it. It's exactly what it sounds like. They loan players to other teams and they pay their contract for like a year. So teams that are like, shit, we need a goalie right now, you can go out and you can loan a goalie in for a year. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Can you imagine a short-term loan? The Lakers are like, all right, Kuzma's coming back from an injury. He's not going to really be able to work his way into this offense. Let's put him on a 3-month loan to the Bulls, have him go play with Levine and Lauri Markkanen, and then have him come back and be in shape. It's like, you laugh, but I think it's like the greatest idea ever.
What if the Pistons loaned Blake Griffin to the Knicks for a year?
And they paid 30% of his contract.
Well, I mean, you can work that out. That does happen where sometimes, like with really high-end soccer players like Alexis Sanchez, where their contract is, or Mesut Ozil, whose contracts are absurd. Like they're crazy, ridiculous, oversized value contracts. The way that that we have in basketball, Blake Griffin's an example of like a Mesut Ozil contract. You loan him out for a year. Sorry, there's like weird noises coming from my ear.
Is that a snake?
I hope not.
So Blake Griffin is the Mesut Ozil.
Blake Griffin is Mesut Ozil. He's a smooth passing offensive player. And you can send him out to the Knicks, and the Knicks would pay 50% of his contract or 60% of his contract. Manchester United, of whom I know you're a big fan, has
why I wore my red
now. Where they're just so desperate to get rid of their contracts because they weren't playing. Romelu Lukaku and then Alexis Sanchez, who both I think got loaned out to the same team, believe it or not, Inter Milan. So that's let's talk about this. This right here is this is sexual. What is, in my opinion, the most likely version of the men's soccer team that we'll see at the World Cup, assuming we qualify, which for some reason now is like it's become an if over time, and I'm not thrilled about that, but I'm doing fine. So the players like we got to highlight here. Number 1 is Christian Pelisek, the greatest soccer player in the history of United States men's soccer,
bar none.
I love him. I love him very much. He plays for Chelsea. He's going to be the captain of this team for the next, 10 years probably. 8 years for sure. At least through the next 2 World Cup cycles.
But like how good are we talking with Christian Pulisic? Like, are we talking like the best player on a team like Chelsea, or are we talking the best player on a team like, I don't know, Crystal Palace?
Christian Pulisic, in my opinion, is a very nice fit talent-wise at Chelsea. Whether that's as their starter or their third winger, it's tough to say. Chelsea runs like the same formation. What am I doing here? With these wingers up top. But the thing about like those really high-end soccer teams is that it's full of drama all the time about whether you're going to keep your spot, about whether they're going to sell you, about whether they're bringing some kid 2 years younger than you in to take your spot from you. So I don't think he'll spend more than 4 years at Chelsea. I'd be surprised. But he's definitely a talented enough player to play at a top 10 club, which Chelsea, in its good years, is supposed to be.
Now, is he cemented in there on the wing, or could he play somewhere like central midfield or striker?
So that's a good question. It seems he's played in a couple of different positions all over the field because of the type of player he is. Very quick, very good with the ball, very attack oriented in pretty much every sense of the word. He can play on I really should have practiced this. He can play on this side or on the other side, left or the right side. He's played more on the left with Chelsea, but he could also play. You'll see that there's two names there, Adams and Pomical. He could play like right in front of them, but behind those wingers, like in an attacking midfield role. He's played there for the men's national team in the past. But I think he's a winger, in my opinion. He's played midfield too, like a wide midfield role. But I think he's a winger. I think that's where he excels.
Now, the thing on this picture right here that stands out to me, there's two things as more of a casual soccer fan. One is, how confident on a scale of 1 to 10 are you that Josie Altidore is going to be starting at striker come the next World Cup?
Pretty confident.
So no, like you don't feel good about Sargent catching up to him, or Timmy Way will probably be on the wing, that type of thing.
So it hasn't been an awesome year for Josh Sargent. I know we haven't really talked about that, but Josh Sargent has had a tough year. He's had a tough year playing for a bad team in the German Bundesliga. Like a team where like, are they going to fire their coach? Or are they going to, kind of just like a bad year for a good club? And so because of that, I just don't think in 2 years he'll be ready to definitively overtake Josie Altidore in the highest of high pressure situations. The World Cup isn't a place that you go to play your young players. It's where you go to play the most talent you have available. You don't take chances in the World Cup, and that would be a chance in my opinion.
Okay, and then the second thing that really stands out to me here, and I'm just going to say the name and you respond, Paxton Pomical.
Well, Paxton Pomical, and not a lot of people know this, is actually my large adult son. I've got his back all the time. I would say of all of the people on here, he's the most likely not to be a definitive starter. I have some other graphics here. We can kind of – where'd it go? This one right here. This is like the second team, and you'll see right in his spot on like the second team is Sebastian Lletget right here. I think that Greg Berhalter will probably play Lletget over him 2 years from now in the World Cup. He seems to kind of be penciled in as the starter, but I think that like what he does and the way that he plays, I just love him. I think he's going to go over to Europe in a year or two. It's a weird year for soccer, and particularly MLS soccer, because of the corona. It's really kind of hampered a lot of teams financially and kind of caused them to back away from plans that they'd had before the transfer market began.
Now, out of this, so this is what you assume the starting lineup will be.
I think most of these guys, if they're not starting, are for sure going to be like the first guy on the bench. I'm pretty excited about this.
Now, the one guy I need to know more about, and I think from what I've heard, more United States soccer fans need to know more about, is Sergiño Dest. Correct? Am I? Yeah, that's
Sergiño
the guy.
Is the history of men's soccer is that we haven't had a good left back. It seems like ever. We've never had a good one. It's a really, really important position in modern soccer. It's also a very important position in the scheme that Greg Berhalter, the coach, plays. Sergiño Dest primarily plays on the right, but we have a lot of really good right backs, in my opinion, and so we should be playing him on the left, where he's also good. He's pretty dual-footed. He is basically a winger who plays defense. So the defensive work isn't quite always super smooth. He's getting there really quickly. He plays for the best development academy in the world, Ajax, which is in the Dutch, spelled AJAX, like the cleaning product. The academy is world famous. They've turned out really good players.
Like Delight went there, correct? Or Delight played there.
Frankie
who's
de
the guy in
Jong.
Barcelona? Frankie de Jong. Some like world class young players.
The 17-year-old who's about to get sold for like $50 million. Danny Van Der Beek. They were in the UEFA finals, the Champions Cup finals, I believe, one year recently, or in the semifinals. They played Tottenham. I forget exactly what that was, but really good team, elite youth academy. They're one of the first teams next to like Barcelona who have really figured out how to operate a for-profit youth academy that also turns out genuine players. But he was one of the star players on the under-20 World Cup team. He's only 19, I think. He's already the best left back we have in the pool. He was a hotly contested dual national with the Netherlands. And he's going to be around for 10 years. He's a fucking great player. He's awesome. Super cool.
And just for everybody listening at home, I know soccer is out of reach for a lot of us. So if you do have any comments, go on the YouTube, put it in the live chat. We will get your question or comment talked about and answered on air.
Are you in there right now? Are you in the YouTubes?
I got it up right here. Now, outside of Paxton Pomykal, because I feel like that's the easy answer here, who are you least confident about being in the starting 11 come 2 years from now?
There's two guys, I think. There's two guys behind that. One is Aaron Long, and I think he's kind of the 12th man on the roster. He's a solid center back. He plays in the MLS, Red Bull New York. There were a lot of rumors about him going to West Ham United in this most recent transfer window. And then I think Aston Villa or some other like low-tier Premier League team. And essentially the Red Bulls wanted a bunch of money for him, like more money than he was worth. And then I think a team came close and they still said no. He's really important to what they do to that team, which is a good MLS team. But I think that if we take a look at like this right here, which is all my U23, like the up and coming U23 players, in 2 years, I think there's a chance that Miles Robinson could overtake him. Or I think it's more likely that Matt Miazga over here is going to be starting over him. That was my question. Matt Miazga, are we selling stock? Are most of the stocks already sold, or are we still feeling okay about him? I know he got loaned out from Chelsea once or twice and didn't exactly live up to expectations. But most of the time when I watch him play with the USMNT, it seems like he's holding his own out there. Yeah, Matt Miazga is definitely like an EFL championship, second-tier British division level player. For sure, he fits in there. He's been in a few teams, and he's been really good every year. He did what you're talking about where he like loaned out and didn't play well was for Vitesse, which I believe is an Italian club. They are like kind of financially linked with Chelsea. So Chelsea sends a lot of players out that way to play for them. And he didn't really get along with his coach, wasn't really playing a lot. But as far as the talent on the field, when he's on the field, he's a really good player. He's big. One of the things that you need to be able to do as a center back in today's game is distribute, and he's good enough at that. In 2 years, he could be a guy who plays on Chelsea's reserves, but I don't really see him ever being like a genuine part of Chelsea's backline.
Well, the thing that gets me excited about looking at kind of this backup team sheet here is that a lot of these guys are the guys who 2 years ago were getting first team run. Like a lot of first team run.
Sure. So when Berhalter comes in, the first thing I think he did was he needed to establish like who are the 11 guys that I can count on every week. So we saw a lot of rotation from some like mid-tier Dan Lovitz MLS players. Nick Lima, another guy who probably now won't ever be involved in the team sheet. And so some of those younger guys have played. Tyler Boyd played some first team minutes. Linez really recently played some first team minutes. And a lot of that has to do with how hard it can be to get good players to international friendlies and games like that because of the restrictions the club place on them.
Okay. Now who's the guy furthest away from the top of the team sheet right now that you could see making all that progress to get to the top of the team sheet? Is it somebody like Gio Reyna, or is it somebody like Josh Sargent just flipping it all around and going on a run, or is it somebody like Timmy Way finally putting it all together?
Well, Timmy Way's thing has just been he can't get on a goddamn field, which has also been, I should say, the problem with every under-23 player we have right now. They cannot stay healthy. And for that matter, some of these guys too, like Josie Altidore is a liability to be on the field every time he goes out there. You know, he's had a very checkered injury history. Zach Steffen was out. Zach Steffen, for people who don't know, is kind of the backup goalie for Man City, Manchester City, one of the 5 best teams in the world right now. Was playing in Germany, was playing very well in Germany, and came back to Man City kind of as the illness or whatever was happening, rehabbed an injury, and then literally yesterday got cleared to play. Today at 10:30 in the morning, he tore his ACL.
Breaks my heart, dude.
Every time. Like, Pelisek missed.
Because what's the deal? Because I'm looking at this now. Pelisek missed time. Morris missed almost a year. Tyler Adams has missed time. McKennie's always hurt, but that's probably more because of his own thing. Stephen tore an ACL. Yedlin was out for 6 months. What is the problem there? Is this
that's another one. I mean,
is this something that we think is like a USMNT training staff issue, or is this more of the type of workouts they do in Europe that these guys aren't used to when they get over there? Because looking at it, it seems less common with the players playing in the MLS and more common for the guys overseas. But that might just be a strange coincidence.
I guess there are some of not these guys. These guys right here have also had their fair share of injuries. Who are guys who are MLS players. I'm looking for one in particular. Where'd he go? Oh, well. Anthony Robinson. Anthony Robinson got sold to AC Milan, a historically great Italian club, to be their backup left back because he's really young, really fast, really raw. And then as he was getting sold, they found out that he had like a heart murmur and was unable to be sold because he had to have heart surgery at 21.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is he had to stay. He was playing for Wigan Athletic, a second-tier English team, and he would have actually had to go to Italy and be in an Italian hospital about a month and a half ago, which you look back at now and is like kind of a bullet dodged, if we're being honest, because obviously Italy's had a lot of problems. I don't know what to tell you about all the injured guys. If we go over here, there's a guy in the center back range, Miles Robinson. And Miles Robinson came up and played some like lower importance friendlies with us. I think he's a guy who could really break through. This roster right here, this whole thing, are the like under 23 guys who I think have the greatest chance to impact the men's first team. And I know that's like kind of a mouthful, but it's just to like kind of explain and show how international soccer is really different from every other sport. Miles Robinson, after playing a game for the men's national team, was doing a cool down exercise, like running laps after the game, which is a thing that a lot of guys do. And he hurt himself. Like it just seems like the men's national team training center is like built on an Indian burial ground or something. Like, I don't know what the deal is, honestly. Man City's training staff is some of the best in the world, man. I don't know what to tell you about it. Bad.
Just some bad luck. All right, I got a couple. I'm going to give you two players. I want you to pick which one you think is going to have a better career. So now, which one's better now, but a better United States men's national team career. I don't care about Europe. I don't care about any of that. My first one, Tyler Adams versus Weston McKennie.
Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams, in my opinion, from what I've seen from him, is the only guy on the field who could be as good as Christian Pelisek.
Timmy Way or Josh Sargent?
I don't know, man. I got to see Timmy Way play a little bit first. He hasn't played in a year. He was really good at the U20 World Cup, where the men's – if you're looking for things to go watch, you want to watch them, a lot of the U20 World Cup stuff is up. There's really good highlights of the game against France. Obviously the best country in the world right now for soccer, where a lot of these guys, not these guys, a bunch of these guys, and then a few of these guys beat France's under 20 team, one of the most stacked I've ever seen. They're like Brazilian. They're super stacked. But I think Josh Sargent's like a lock to be a really good player. And I haven't quite seen enough from Timmy Way to like really know where I feel like his ceiling is. Okay.
Post ACL Steffen or Ethan Horvath?
Well, it's Steffen if he can play healthy. If he can be healthy, I mean. Steffen's it's really shitty what happened to Zach Steffen today. It really sucks. Like,
I know, I was so disappointed when I got that text.
Zach Steffen's weakness as a player is that he hasn't always been very good with his feet, which is the number one thing you have to be able to do if you're going to play for Man City. Pep Guardiola is the best coach in the world for that specific thing. Missing time where you could have been training underneath Ederson and Pep is really, really unfortunate. But all that set aside, Zach Steffen's a quality goalkeeper who I think genuinely over the last 3 years has proven that he's the number one goalkeeper for the national team.
By like a pretty wide margin, right?
What?
By like a pretty wide margin.
I think it's a pretty good margin right now, if only because we haven't really seen Ethan Horvath play a lot. He plays for a club team that's in Belgium, and they signed – it's like the only really elite team in Belgium, and they signed a very good keeper, Simon Mignolet, to play over him, so he kind of got –
Okay. And I got two more for you. Gio Reyna, Alex Mendez. Alex Mendez, right? Alex?
Yeah, this is Gio Reyna for sure. Gio Reyna is well, I guess he's on this one. And so is –
he's on the one you had up, yeah.
Alex Mendez is over here. Gio Reyna is kind of a shoo-in, I think, to be a part of not the 2022 World Cup, but the 2026 World Cup. But I don't know. He's 17. He just turned 17. So I don't know if he'll be involved in this World Cup. But he is the player who I think is most likely to end up being as good as Christian Pulisic.
Okay, well, that was my next – that was my next question. It's Christian Pulisic versus anybody else.
You can make an argument for Gio Reyna, but I think it's too early. And I think you can make an argument for Tyler Adams, but he needs to stay healthy.
And how old is Reyna?
17.
And you said he's playing where again?
He's playing for Borussia Dortmund. He scored,
that's what I thought.
He scored, if you want to see what Gio Reyna can do, I'll send you this, you can put it on the Twitter page. There's a very specific goal, his first goal I ever saw him score, where he just does everything you want, he's like a attacking midfielder winger hybrid. He's like kind of just a game record. He's 6 foot, he shoots, his dad was men's national team hero Claudio Reyna. He's got everything you're looking for in like an elite professional athlete.
Who do you think the most under the radar U23 is for the U.S. men's national team? The guy who can take the biggest jump over the next couple of years?
Well, there's a bunch of them. I mean, I think you actually might have been the person who told me that you heard somebody once say that there's like a sea of Christian Pulisic's coming. You know what I'm talking about? How that was the thing that people have been talking about. And at the time when you told me this, it was about 2 years ago, I really disagreed with you because nobody could ever be as great as Christian Pulisic. But I think that now in Germany specifically, there's like 20 kids coming who are going to be like insane, really good players. So I kind of took that question and I kind of answered it a couple of different ways based on like the tiers of talent that men's soccer has. Tier 1, like guy who could be on the men's national team if he makes another jump, who we're not talking about, is Sebastian Saucedo, who's over here. He was a product of the Real Salt Lake, Utah MLS Academy, which has been a very underrated academy and produced my favorite under-23 goalkeeper, David Ochoa, who you can see at the bottom and who we have an awesome clip of to close the show out with. But
and a name like Sebastian Saucedo, like every time you score a goal, you have the best name for scoring a goal. Like, are you kidding me? You know, that's such easy branding. That was saucy. Like, come on, Big Sauce. We're going to call him Big Sauce. Shout out Big Sauce, one of our loyal listeners. Shout out to him. But Sebastian Saucedo, I've never heard of this guy before. Right now, I'm playing FIFA after this podcast, and I'm buying him, and I'm editing him to 99, and he's going to sauce all over everybody.
He's really smooth. He's a really good passer. He's a really nice passer off the wings. Didn't play well in Utah. Got sold to a team in Mexico. UNAM. I forget what those are called, but and has been very, very good this year. And I think could make another leap to like the men's national team. If you want to go like the level below it, a guy who I think is close to breaking through in a few years. He's on this list too. James Sands, who you'll see in the middle there. Kind of got left off of some of those men's national team, like the U23 team or the qualifying team, but has played a lot of minutes for New York City FC. He's 17, I think. He's either 16 or 17. Oh no, I lied. He's 18. He just turned
18. Yeah, I thought I was gonna say because he was 7. Like when he was getting left off those teams, he was 17. So it's not like it was some robbery. It was.
Well, I think now you could argue that it is because he's been really good. He's been playing for the first team. He's got 1,500 minutes. And the team he plays for is like got a really crowded midfield. Like Keaton Parks, another really good young men's national team center midfielder, is on that team. He starts over him. Keaton Parks is actually on this one right over here towards the bottom. They've got a lot of talent. He broke his arm and his collarbone and still was playing basically every minute they could get him. Now, if we're going to go deep into the depths of me being a psychic, there's 3 names here for you. First name, Brian Kago, who's going to play for Wolfsburg very, 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 very shortly. It's the day he turns 18. It's kind of a weird thing for soccer, like youth soccer players, where you can't go to Germany until you turn 18 unless you've like dual citizenship. And it's the same thing with England and France and Spain. And it's really weird and complex. But he'll turn 18 and go play for Wolfsburg. He's awesome. Look out for that kid. Who else do I have on here? There's a Brazilian kid, Brazilian dual national, 18 years old. They'll never admit this, but the internet found this kid. This kid's name is Johnny Cardoso, but he's a Brazilian player, so he goes by Johnny, one word, like Madonna.
Yes. Okay, good. I was going to say he better. He projects as like a big-ass midfielder. He's played center back. He's played defensive mid, and I think he's very like – he almost seems like one of those guys whose heart rate never rises. He's just always like right here. Don't you wish you had that skill?
Mm-hmm. And
like to me, my hands get shaky.
My hands, yeah, I definitely am somebody who gets nervous about like big important stuff. And then last but not least, and this is like kind of a hipster. This is the ultimate hipster soccer pick. Jose Gallegos, who is 16 years old. He plays for Louisville FC, which is not even in the American first tier. It's a USL team. Yeah, Louisville FC. He's very highly rated amongst like the soccer heads around here. He played one game, I believe, for the San Antonio's USL team, and basically sliced and diced all over FC Dallas. Was the best player in a friendly, like a first team friendly with FC Dallas, and was kind of another guy where was he going to go to Germany? Sure, when that stuff gets really muddled and you never really know for sure. But those are my like super under the radar guys.
Who are your most overrated under 23 players?
There's really only one, I feel like, because there's all that there is hope right now. And the one guy who I feel like might be kind of overrated is actually here, Reggie Cannon, who's playing right back.
Damn.
I don't think that Reggie Cannon is overrated as a prospect. I think that where soccer people put him right now is overrated. It's kind of a discussion about whether or not he should start over DeAndre Yedlin. And in my opinion, he's not there yet. He's just not there yet. He's probably 4 years away. He's really good.
And if he's ever that good, I'm happy. If he's ever as good as Yedlin is now, I'm really happy.
And I think that there's kind of some Yedlin pushback. I think people think of Yedlin as a different player than he actually is. For starters, he's 26. Like people.
Well, he's been around since 1942. Like I've been watching Yedlin since I was a kid.
For sure. So I think there's a little bit of like, well, wouldn't it be fun if he became a winger instead? Because he runs like a 4.240 or something like that.
When you watch Yedlin run, it's really hard not to go the whole time. Like he just takes off like a bullet, dude. Is Greg Berhalter the right man to lead this team?
I don't think it matters. He's going to be the guy through at least this World Cup cycle. They've basically said that that's the guy, that they're not ever going to look at it. And I get that. That's kind of how international soccer works. It's by World Cup cycles every 4 years. But I think that at least when he started, it didn't look good. The thing about Berhalter is that he seems like he's one of those coaches who can't play outside of his system. And his system is an elite system. He was a very good coach for the Columbus Crew. He did a lot with a little. He really excelled at like taking the talent he had and getting the most out of it. I would call him a Dwayne Casey style coach.
I think you sound more like you're defining Matt Patricia right now. He was a really good coach for the New England Patriots. He's got a very specific scheme. He's always been known as a guy to get the best out of his players. That kind of scares me.
I don't hate that, and also because they're so controversial amongst their fans. You know, Patricia. A lot of people don't like Patricia. A lot of people don't like Greg Berhalter.
Well, Berhalter to me has a very soccer coach way to him where it's just, fuck you, I'm doing it my way. I don't care what you say. You can fire me if you don't like it. Like, I think that's the difference between soccer coaches and other sports. Soccer coaches will just be like, fucking fire me. Where other, sports, they're going to make their moves. Berhalter seems like he has one way. He knew who he was playing in I remember last summer, all those friendlies we had, and then we had the Gold Cup. Something like that, right? And he's just playing these kind of random groupings of players, but I think there's a purpose behind it. I think I know we're not at a spot right now where we are we're developing this talent, but we're not finding out exactly who our starters are right now. We're finding out who can compete to be a starter right now. That's what it felt like to me, and I don't hate that. I really don't.
I would say that that process of trying out fringe players, which he definitely spent a year and a half doing, and was probably trying some players out that really shouldn't have been. I would have liked to have seen more younger players involved in that process, but we found out that Jordan Morris is a player who just eats it up with the men's national team. Plays for the Seattle Sounders. And it's not usually what you're looking for in today's soccer, is a guy who basically kind of has stayed close to home his entire career and had the opportunity to go to Europe and turn it down, but has been just a stat machine and looked great at the beginning of the MLS season too. So I give Berhalter like a C.
Okay, you ready to hop in this time machine real quick?
Yeah.
The year is 2026. The United States men's national team is hosting the 2026 World Cup. Which of these 11 players is still on the roster?
So let me just do the math in my head. That's like 6 years from now, right? Yeah, sorry. That's pretty.
I had to think about it too.
It becomes harder to do math the longer a podcast goes. So definitely those three midfielders, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Paxton Pomcole, all going to be involved. We're definitely going to see Serginho Dest. I definitely think Zach Steffen will still be around. The most obvious one is going to be that Christian Pelisek is definitely still going to be there. He'll probably still be the captain. I think Jordan Morris will still be competing for a spot, but I don't think he'll be the starter. I think that either Timmy Way or Conrad De La Fuente or Indiana Vasilev or
if things go right, Morris is not. If things go right, Morris is not starting in 2026.
The obvious one is Yuli Linez, who I think is a slam dunk. Played his first men's national team game against Costa Rica right before the coronavirus break. Was the best player on the field.
And he's a super finesse player, right? He's just magic with his feet, or is he more physical?
He does everything you want a winger to do, man. He is the prototypical winger. Plays in a great youth academy in Wolfsburg. He, about a week ago, signed an official first-team contract. Soccer is weird like that. You play for the U23s, you play for the U19s, and then you get brought up. It's not like soccer video games where you have your bench and then you have like a big thick pile of reserve players. A lot of those reserve guys are like, if they're younger, are playing for the U23s, which Yuli was doing and was scoring in buckets. I think that he's the most likely. Yuli Linez subbing in for Jordan Morris, and then Christian Pelisek playing on the left side is the most likely thing that'll happen. John Brooks might be too old. We'll have to see.
Now, all the way in 2026, though, if everything goes perfect, it's Pulisic and Linez, right? On opposite sides of the field? Because if everything goes perfect, there's no way Morris can still be starting for the team.
It's probably Pulisic, and then either Gio Reyna, if he becomes more of a wing player. I don't think Gio Reyna's position is super defined yet. Timmy Way or Yuli Linez. It'll be
Okay.
those two guys filling it and subbing out for Jordan Morris, in my opinion. Unless Jordan Morris makes another big leap, which isn't like unheard of. He's kind of a late bloomer to begin with. So I think John Brooks will be 31 or 32.
I think he'll still be there. I think John Brooks is going to be. I think 34-year-old John Brooks could still be out there mowing people down.
Big maybe. He's been injured a lot. But we don't have a whole ton of I think center back right now is one of the positions we have with the least depth. I think it depends on whether or not Miles Robinson, CCV, or Chris Richards develop in the way that we hope they're going to.
Okay.
Josie Altidore won't be playing in 6 years.
No, God. I'm telling you right now, I don't think he's starting for us in 2 years, okay? I know he's the favorite to right now. I don't think that happens. I think somebody's taking a step in the next 2 years, and they're going to get over Josie Altidore. I guess it depends on Berhalter and how much of a crush he has on him.
I think that'll be Berhalter's pick. Josh Sargent isn't ready yet. I don't think you can go into a World Cup with Giassi Zardes as your starting striker if you
hopefully not
out of groups. Jesus Ferreira, who plays for FC Dallas, could be ready, but I doubt it. There's just it's kind of a weird timeline right now for our strikers. We're kind of in between some of this generational stuff.
I'm just a big believer in the large 1-year soccer jump, right? And I think we're going to have one of those guys, whether it be with Sargent or Timmy Way. And I know Way's probably on the wing, but I think I got to believe when you get to close to prime Timmy Way, you're going to be able to play him at striker or the wing, correct?
Yeah, I think he projects as a winger or like maybe a 9. I don't know, man. Timmy Way's another guy where there's still a little bit of fluidity with where he can play.
I know. Just for everybody listening, Timmy Way, for one, he's a legitimate prince. His father is a king of what country? Do you know what country?
It's Liberia. I think he's the king of Liberia.
Yeah, somehow he's an American national player, but his dad is the king. So he's a legit prince, and he's just like the coolest dude. He runs like a stallion, dude. Like he looks like a horse galloping across the field. He's just so cool. That's the guy where if injuries don't get in his way, watch out from me. That's from me, the video game soccer fan.
He was raised in New York, I believe, Timmy Way.
Okay.
Pretty good. His formative childhood years here.
Could you please refer to him as Prince Way?
I don't see why. I mean, Prince Timmy and then King Tim. I think you're Prince Timmy now, and then when you're on the big stage, then you're King Timothy. I changed it, but you're
King Tim. Ooh, no, you're totally right, dude. Yeah, Prince Tim, because Prince Timmy, he's like a kind, fun-loving heart. Where King Timothy is like, hey, dude, watch your head.
Yeah, King Timothy will get you.
All right, what else you got for soccer? Because we got to wrap this up here pretty soon.
Yeah, I see we're getting to the end here. I guess the only other thing that we could talk about is, do you want to what creates a good soccer player? Is it high-end youth academies? Is it do you know what I'm saying? I think that's the So if you look at a lot of these guys and you look at the history of men's soccer players of the last, let's give it 10, 15 years, and you look at most people would think that you want guys going to the elite youth academies because saying that we have a player at Liverpool or we have a player at Man United or a player at Arsenal or a player at Bayern Munich. And those are all, we've had players at those academies in the last 5 years, every year. You know, Chris Richards right now is a Bayern Munich player. Technically, he plays for their U20 or their B. I don't think it's called U23s. I think it's called Bayern B. We've had players at Liverpool, Brooks Lennon, who's nowhere on this list, but who I think is a good player, was at Liverpool for a few years. Matthew Olasunde, who's playing in the 3rd English division now, was a Man United Youth Academy player. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm just urging people who hear things like that to temper it a little, because soccer's kind of like basketball. The only way to get good players is to take a fistful of darts in each hand and throw them at the board and hope that a couple of them hit. And that, for the first time in men's history, is kind of where we're at. All of these guys on this particular team sheet right here are 22 or younger and are, I think, destined to be as good as or better than most of the first-team players we have now.
Well, we've kind of flipped from where we were going originally for the last, pretty much all of history, and looking for the diamond in the rough. Whereas now it's kind of the opposite of that, and there is just boatloads of super, super talented young players. And what you have to do now is you have to weed out the guys who are going to be able to develop into a top player in the world or be able to at least play in one of the top leagues in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that is where really the United States men's national team has had their biggest problem outside of just available talent over, my lifetime at least. And it'll be really interesting to see if this current regime can change that.
Don't hold your breath, man. The USSF is not – they've been better. They had this weird scandal, and I'm not talking about the women's national team thing, which is its own like clusterfuck of incompetence from the – but the USSF has gone through a lot of people over the last couple of years. So what you want is for MLS teams to take the burden of producing talent upon themselves, the way that clubs like FC Dallas and I think Philadelphia Union and DC United a little bit. I think Real Salt Lake has had a very good track record of producing young talent. That's what you want. There's no other like guaranteed way to produce talent than to be doing it on your home turf.
I would agree. All right. Well, I liked this. This was a ton of fun talking soccer. I like this style of segment. I think we should do this more for sure. If you like it at home, make sure you give us a follow. He's at Parker_Hammond. And then I am at Fan2Fan Drew or at Fan2Fan Detroit. We will be back next Tuesday. Parker, do you have any final thoughts?
Shout out again to Darren. Thank you for fixing whatever was wrong with our stream. I guess that's it. This has been fun. If you want to talk about soccer, you find a way to get in contact with me. I don't care who you are. We can talk about soccer, man. I don't care. I'll do it for 10 hours.
Remember, at Parker_Hammond if you're looking to talk soccer. But anyways, to bring you on out of here, I'm your host, Andrew Norris. This is my producer, Double P producer Parker. And here is our fun sports clip of the week.
I hit the wrong one.
Wrong one. Here is our fun sports clip.